Hey, what's up, DNC Performance? Back working on Tom's car. Yesterday ended up staying quite a bit later. Um, I just couldn't leave knowing that there's more I could get done in a short period of time, which is kind of my point with all this stuff. Like, it doesn't take long to just do things a little bit better, a little bit nicer. So we put the power block back up where it was. Put a little zip tie over there just to kind of hold the wires for now. The power cable's coming over. The holly wires are directly on the battery. Oh, and then I made a negative, which all of these blue was what was in the car. All I did was peel the tape off that they used to cover the lug that they crimped on. They crimped the lugs on fine. They used like a cable lug crimper, and then I just put heat shrink. Literally all I did was put heat shrink because the tape will end up coming off. So this wire here goes to there, and then I made the negative cable short enough, goes to right here, and then this wonderful one that goes out and basically to a bolt that's like that bolt right there. The other two, the fuel pump and the fuel pump control, are going on here. I haven't done the taillight plug yet because I didn't feel like doing it. The Deutsch connector on the fuel pump, and then just ran the ground with it and just zip tied it. I do have to cut that one though. And then I'll probably end up looming that section there. And then yeah, I did all the interior stuff. Oh, that was what it was. And then I mounted that up on the side so that there's nothing coming through the wheel well and poking a tire possibly. So I cut the red cable back and just, you know, I aim all my terminal ends. When I crimp them, I aim them to like put the cable in a position where I want it. So like this one was flat, and when you twist it up, it pushes the cable up all by itself. So it kind of holds the cable up so it's not visible, basically. And then again, I took their blue one, heat shrink the end, and just zip tied it up all the way across. And then it comes in the top of the distribution block there. So, like, just a little bit of time. Obviously, there's no tank and there's no pump, and there's still this wire for the water pump, which I haven't figured out if I'm going to put the intercooler pump over here or if I'm going to mount it like up there. Not quite sure on that yet. I think I might mount it up over here to kind of keep a little bit neater as far as the wiring, because I can go battery to the relay. The relay has a built-in fuse, so that battery would be pin 87 or 30. It's 87 or 30, I can never remember. But one side is battery. I think it's 30 is your direct to battery. So it already has a fuse on it. That's why the fuse is on this side. Makes sense. It's a 20 amp fuse, so I don't know. Yeah, there's no rating on this relay, so it might be like a 30 amp relay or something like that. And then I can run a ground for the relay. Well, I guess what I need to do is figure out, it's got to be 12 volt. This has to be 12 volt. So I need to figure out just real quick probe it and check and see if this is 12 volt, which I'm pretty sure it is. Take my busted up test light. Come on. Alright, so put the test light on the ground. I'll put it on the battery. On the ground. I always just double check test light works. Then let's see if I can set this phone up again. Yeah, not happening. Hold on. Hold on. Well, alright. That's pissed me off now. So I believe that will be this one. Let's see if it's just wired direct to battery. Gotta assume it is, right? Yep, direct to battery. So that's 12 volt. That'll be the trigger, which I believe is, it's one of the other posts. I think the trigger is 86, but whatever. So I'll mount the relay on this side, possibly next to the power distribution. I already took the pump. Excuse me. I cut the wires, put a couple pieces of heat shrink just to hold them together. Put a Deutsch connector. I got to put the tab in it still. I have the other half there that will go off of this. And then we'll have a direct battery, a direct to ground, which I'll most likely put right on here. So I have another wire to run over there. That's why I haven't loomed or zip tied nothing, because you do all that and then you add one wire in, you're like, oh crap, and you got to kind of undo stuff. So I'm waiting until I'm done with everything. But that way there, pump will be back in. This is the drain. Not that it's a big deal, but this is the drain. This is a plastic fitting. This is a plastic fitting. Not a big deal, but the hose, to me, this is a big deal. That the hose could just be pulled off. It's split, it's cracked, it's dry rotted, it's a piece of crap. And this was actually laying in the trunk. You can see all the water, which I don't know why it was laying in the trunk, because you could easily have done that, cut it down a little bit. It'll drain the water outside the car, kind of where you need it. You never want to be at the track and have water sitting in the back of your car. You go to launch, the track gets pissed off at you. So I'm going to figure out the position on the tank. I'm going to change that plastic fitting and probably put like an AN line just going out that hole, and get the vent off the fuel tank. Yeah, get the vent off the fuel tank. Then I'm going to come up front, which I did yesterday. I checked the transmission fluid, and there was none on the dipstick. I put like a gallon in and thought it had showed up on the end of the dipstick, like a little bit of it. So I went ahead and I started the car. I came out, checked it, it was bone dry. Put 2 more quarts in, bone dry. 2 more quarts in, and now it's showing roughly full on the dipstick. But there's no way I spilled 2 gallons of fluid. So I'm kind of wondering that this transmission's never been full, or what happened with it, that I had to put almost 2 gallons of transmission fluid in it. It's kind of crazy to me. But once I'm done in the back, I'm going to move up to the front, get rid of that yellow ground, and then just start going through that mess there, which, you know, I just noticed something. That is a direct battery, which is cool, fine and good. The blue cable also I showed in one of the other videos is actually, yeah, there it is. It's like all blistered, you know. And so it's too close to the manifold to be run right there. But this wire right here, I cut this wire. This was actually the 12 volt feed for the MAC valves. So in reality, you know, you can leave 12 volt to the MAC valve, but it shouldn't. It should be ignition 12 volt to the MAC valve. But that's the way they did it. So there's just a giant pile of wires on there. I shouldn't have looked at this. So many wires. Yeah. Yeah. Why does he have two going over there? One goes to the alternator. Where does that one go? Goes out the fender. Where would it go? Where are you going? Goes out the fender and then comes back in over here. Oh, okay, so that's feeding this fuse block, which again, all right, yep, I have work to do, but yeah, so I have some work to do. I gotta get the MAC valves wired up, get under the hood cleaned up, get the ice tank in. Oh, that was the other thing I did. Let me see, all the Bluetooth is in the car now. So, can I look through the window? No. Can I look through the window? Kind of. That dirty window. You can see there, they're coming through the floor. And you can see there's just a mile of hose. So I will, as low as I can, oh, you can't see it, as low as I can on this aluminum panel, I'm going to find kind of where the floor of the trunk is and probably cut the bottom half of the panel out. You notice there's no pop rivets in the bottom of the panel except in the center. So this side will just flip-flop around. So I'll probably end up just cutting like a notch out of the panel and probably put a screw through this corner and that corner. I don't know, it's a pain in the butt to get back here because the seat doesn't, you know, it goes forward, which is good that it is a tilt seat, but pain in the butt. So let me start getting everything else cleaned up, and then figure out where to get this mounted, and we'll go from there. Okay, so back at it and making headway. I got the tank mounted back in there. I did riv nuts and I actually used all 4 mounting points. I got the lines hooked up. I reused the return line from the tank as the drain, and it goes through there, and I cut it so it's not super long and hanging out the car, but you know, and then I heat shrink the sleeve, the end, so that basically you don't get stabbed with any of the braid. So that goes through there. We open the ball valve and drains a bunch of water out. I do have water in the tank right now. This hose, being that it has this fitting on this tank, what I did was I came through the panel with both lines, and then I turned that hose back behind the bar along here, and then I had to cut this section out, and it looped, and it made the hose, in my opinion, it's still a little long. Like, you could kind of 90 off of here and have that hose work, but it's a million times better. And then that same short piece to the pump, which I mounted on this side. I made this bracket. I just used a piece of flat stock and then some sheet that I bent over and welded it all together, bolted it to the pump, bolted it into the floor pan. The Deutsch connector's on there. Here's the relay for it, which now is feeding battery power through the fuse on the relay to the pump. Everything's neat. Pretty much just zip tied everything right now. I mean, I could put wire loom on it, but honestly, it's something that if there is an issue, then we kind of want to be able to sort through it. So that wire, that one right there, as best I could, I kept it up, tied it to the red battery, and then tied it to the blue, which you can't see because I turned it to the back so that you don't see it. All the way across, came down, ran it over to here. So that's just the key on source. So that triggers the relay on. Then it has a ground that goes to the ground terminal. And then it's got direct battery, which I fed to right here, to the terminal block. And then power out. And then the ground off the pump goes to the terminal. Pump works. Everything's good there, so minus the vent for the tank, which I have some 8 and a couple of fittings, but minus that, the trunk's 100% done. And as far as the blue lines, they come through the floor, they come up. I had to twist them to make them work the right way, which I could twist them back. I may end up doing that because that's going to drive me nuts, but they go in between the seat belts, so they're not interfering with nothing. But that's the only kind of sort of ugly part of it, is that those blue lines stay like that. Now we're on to the front. I started already doing some stuff. I pulled that ground off from the manifold to the strut tower. I pulled that off, and then I cut all the zip ties for that power that came to this fuse box here, and I pulled it all the way back through, and I got it cut. I have to crimp a terminal end on and heat shrink it and put that on there, but I'm also going to heat shrink the one that they didn't put anything on. And I think I'm getting rid of this one, and I'm most likely going to go down along the front of the K member and then up onto the starter, probably is where I'll end up going with that one. So then alls we'll have on that block there would be this main power here, which I'm going to re-sleeve so that there's no exposed wire. This one will be gone, and then the blue one running down to the starter, which I mean, there's 100 different ways you could do it. I don't really see a much better option with this setup to kind of go down to there, unless I redo everything, which I'm not really interested in redoing everything. So I'll heat sleeve the blue wire all the way down, being that it's basically melting against the manifold. I'll heat sleeve it and figure out a way to tie it against the frame rail. I can't really drill or do anything like that, so it kind of sucks, but yeah, I mean, I'll have to figure out how to get that tied over somehow, some way. Maybe from underneath I could do something, but it looks like the spring perch is there. Yep, spring perch is there, so it's gonna make it a bit of a nightmare. But yeah, so all of that, and then probably gonna end up taking these off, position them to the back side of the strut tower. Not really sure. I gotta kind of see. I believe these are for the fans. Yeah, these are for the fans. So again, they're triggering the 12 volt direct battery. This is your 12 volt key on, and they have it direct battery, which, I mean, you can do, but I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see with that. But yeah, so I may move them just to kind of hide from being wiring here. I may move them to the back side. Most likely I will, just because freaking anal like that. I may just move them to right here. That way they're just kind of hidden. So I'm gonna keep plugging away on this wiring, try and get the front all tied up today. I still have to do the MAC valves, which that was kind of my idea, is to hide them. Wouldn't be hiding them at all. To install them here so that we can kind of route our push lock. We just have to kind of look at everything, kind of see where everything is and see how it goes and all that good stuff. And I still have to weld that charge pipe. I still have to weld like a bung to screw a push lock in, like the main push lock feed for the MAC valves for boost source, pressure source. So yeah, but I'm gonna keep, and then I'll be right back. While I got it in the air, there's the trans cooler mounted up. The lines are connected. I used a 45 to get it to the frame rail or straight. That way it keeps it away from the anti-roll bar. There's a P clamp on there and then the little tie together piece. But I used like, I don't know, 1/2 inch square tube. I made the back side first. I came off, made a little, basically like an L shape. Welded it to the frame and to the, looks like the back bumper, which might have been a bad idea, but I hung it. I took another bar, drilled it, bolted it in, welded it over there, and then made a bracket to go up to the other tubing. Started kind of painting everything up because it just looks like shit that it's all rusting out. And then the front, oh, I gotta trim that one. I took, so let's see if I can get it up in there. Okay, so this is that wire that ran behind the motor along the firewall. It now goes to the back of the alternator. Then the one that came off the back of the alternator ran along the firewall, now comes down along the K-member behind it, all the way across, and then loops up to the starter. So, and it has heat sleeve the entire way to help protect it a little bit from whatever. The small red wire right there comes out of the firewall, and it used to go along the back with those red cables over to that terminal block. So I brought it this way with the alternator trigger wire that's up, kind of sort of see the little gray white wire, and I tied it onto the terminal on the fuse block, which has the battery feed, that one there, the bright shiny one, off the alternator. So that got rid of that. I'm gonna let the car down and we'll check it out. Okay, so under the hood so far, real quick, I got the terminal block somewhat cleaned up. I took the main red wire and moved it to the last terminal, took that little red wire from underneath and moved it to the other side, and now it's just got some other red wire that comes off and goes behind. I don't know what it's for yet. Now we have an open terminal, starter, and then a pile of wires on here, which I haven't touched any of that yet. That's next, because if I move those, I have to extend the fan, which I might need to move the fan now that I think about it, because it comes across the top of the turbo. So I'm gonna have to move the fan wires regardless. But yeah, I mean, just that little bit makes it look 1,000 times cleaner. There's no big red wires running over. I'm gonna put loom on the red coming out of the firewall, and it'll cover this trigger wire here as well. I just noticed I think that's a resistor. Yeah, that's a resistor. Okay, so that's good that there's a resistor in there. So yeah, getting there little by little. Last thing to do are the relays, the boost control, and the feed, source feed from the charge pipe. So I'm gonna jump on that. I'm busting my butt to get this done today. One other thing I have to do, the Steve vent, move it off the downpipe. So yeah, well, here's the fan wires right here. So I could probably figure them out, but yeah, I'll figure them out. Alright, so I cleaned up the relays. I moved them to the front of the strut and loomed them, shortened up a couple of the wires. I heat sleeved the fan wires and zip tied them way up above, which I gotta cut that zip tie too. So we should be good there. I just pulled some length on them to get them over to there. Then it's basically just a couple zip ties here and there. So I made a little bracket, basically just a flat stock aluminum, and threaded the hole on the Mac valve. You can take an 8/32, I believe it's 8/32. I bought a new one. Yeah, 8/32, and you could just straight tap. You don't have to drill it or nothing. You could straight tap right into the back of it, or the front of it if you wanted to, but the front doesn't really have a lot of room for a head. So I put some like machine screws. You can kind of see it right there, one on each end. So that holds the Mac valves. Being that there's not really a good way to get a 12-volt key on, I fed the wires to the terminal to give it 12 volts. It's not preferable the way I want to do it, but maybe we'll get the car back and redo 90% of the other wiring. But anyways, so I have a Deutsch connector for the triggers, the outputs, and this is one of them right here. This was what was hooked up to the Mac valve. So you know, I already had it cut and it's there. I have to pull it back through, but I have to feed another one out. And then I said, well, let me go in and start cleaning up some of these wires under here. So I cut the zip tie and start looking. Some of the wires are just left a little long. It's not too big of a deal. I separated out the inputs and outputs that were left over here. I assume these are the last ones left. And then I see this red one, which I had the other orange one was going to the gray with the black. No, that's white. This one, and that's why I twisted the end up. I don't know if you're seeing any of this. So whenever I cut a wire, I usually like kind of pigtail the end of it so that I know this is the wire I just cut. So I cut that and I pull it to the side, and then I see gray with a black on this red wire, and I'm thinking, man, I know it was orange because I just took it out. It's right there. It goes red to orange to the little input out, or the output wire, gray with a black. Right there, you can see black stripe on it. And I start thinking, I'm like, well, what the hell is that I cut? I thought I cut it. So it goes up, and you can kind of see it come across, and then you can see it. I don't know if you can see it, because I can't see it. There, you can kind of see it in there, somewhere. And then you see it right there with the yellows going out. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So that goes out. So let's, about to kill myself. So figure out where it goes. So it comes out, and I had to look for it. I didn't have a light, but I had to look for it in the pile. I'm thinking, man, there's no red, but then there it is, zip tied with the battery wire, and it goes through the fender over there. I thought, what the hell? Here it goes there, up, and to the terminal block. So at whatever point, whoever, whatever, friggin' who the hell knows what reason, somebody decided to feed direct battery to an output wire on the ECU, which is like a huge friggin' no-no, because when the ECU tries to ground that wire, you're feeding 12 volts back into it. Volts, not bolts. 12 volts back into it. Again, like, if you just take 5 minutes to give a shit, like, you won't do stupid stuff. It blows me away. So that's what I'm working on right now, and I believe my other Mac valve is the gray with a green stripe. I think I already have it programmed, which I need to look at just to make sure, because I like to I don't know, color code, if you want to call it that, my wires in conjunction with whatever I'm tying to. So like Holly, they're all gray. The outputs are all gray. I'm not going to tie 2 gray wires, because then outside the car I have no idea what wire's what. So it's, in a sense, it's stupid. So like, I'll use a thin black wire for the one side of the boost controller, if I have thin black wire. Sometimes I don't. Oh crap, I don't see any thin black. Oh no. So there I go, talking trash, and I don't even have what I need. Yep, I don't have it. All I have is green, gray, yellow, purple. Yeah, my purple. So that one I may do a gray, and then just take a Sharpie and color on it in a bunch of spots, and that gives me a gray with a black stripe, so it'll match. But for Tom's, I think this is it. Well, that doesn't look like it. To find so I'm in the wrong one. There we go. Brock. So I don't know why I call them Brock. Oh boy. This bit, May 12th, I believe. Yeesh. So, pin map. Input, out, come on, outputs. So, I only have one output. Nikes. Staging boost, electric fan. Alright, so they're triggering both fans to come on at one time. I got one fan. So this has got to be it. So I did not change. I may have changed it in single Holly. That's wrong. It's a dual Humphrey, I believe, is. I think that's what I normally choose, is the Humphrey. We'll try dual Holly on this one. So now that puts inputs, outputs, PWM, PWM. So J1B10 is the positive, and go there. Oops. J1B3. So B3 and B10 are the ones we need, and I do believe, yeah, I have a book. So I don't know if this gives you B style stuff. No, it doesn't give you B. Oh, I didn't write it in this one. Yeah. Alright, so I'll have to look up the B3 and B10, but I'm pretty sure B10 is the black stripe and B3 is the green stripe. I'll have to look it up. J1. Because that's the only one that doesn't see inputs, outputs, but it doesn't give you like the breakdown of them, because it's like additional outputs, and then it just tells you like electric fan output 1, the trigger, yellow stripe, gray with a yellow stripe, and then gray with a red stripe. So that's how they tell you this stuff is. They don't tell you the actual numbers. It might be on the plug, but you can't see the plug from where I'm at, so it makes it a pain in the butt. But yeah, I just wanted to share that really quick, is that we have a live 12 volt battery feed just sitting there. Mind you, the wire is cut, but still the end of that wire could dangle around. So now I gotta sit there and pull another wire out of the car that was, you know, wired wrong and then just left behind. So I'm gonna do all that. Once I get that done, I just have the steam port and the vacuum lines to everything, or the boost reference lines to everything, and then from there it's basically start the car and start tuning it, because the car needs to be completely retuned from the injector data being totally wrong. So I'm gonna get this wired up, get that wire pulled out, and go from there. Alright, so yeah, I got that wire out, that red wire that wasn't for anything. I have to clean that up, but I got the two outputs rewired. They're in there. Gotta cut that and tie this up a little better. But I left it loose because I put a dome pressure sensor in, but on my S10 I actually used the map sensor to feed as a dome pressure. So I want to see if that works, but I have the other half of the Deutsch connector on there, and I got the push lock fittings on. They're just in there for now. They're not zip tied or nothing like that. Busted out the laptop. I want to see if I can get the car up to temp and get the fuel a little bit dialed in on it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'll start the car. You should get here to start, right? So ignition, fuel, Pro Dash coming on. Alright, so it starts good. Try to read from an ECU, you always got to have the CAN bus plugged in. There we go. Now, pretty good. What is the water temp? Already like 156. How the hell you get out? I forgot to plug in the sensor. things under the car. Oy, oy, oy. So yeah, this is a little bit of transmission fluid that I spilled. He's good. So I don't see anything leaking. Oh boy. Makes boost. This is all my handprints cooking off right now. So still got to move the steam port. But I think it's ready. I think tomorrow, most likely tomorrow, I'll go over the transmission fluid again just to double check that it's 100% full and start playing with the boost control. And kind of go from there. So Tom's SN95 New Edge, whatever it is, I don't even know if it's a New Edge, is up and ready. Oh, one thing I didn't look at, manifold temps. Oh well. So I'll have to keep an eye on that tomorrow, but that's it for this video. Tomorrow I'll have like a driving video. I appreciate you watching. Thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to be notified of new videos. I try and put out as many as I can, and leave me a comment. Have a good day.